Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the True Life podcast. Hope everybody's having a beautiful day. I hope the sun is shining and the birds are singing, the wind is at your back. It's imperative that you understand how beautiful of a guest I have for you today. So in order to do that, allow me to give you an introduction that I hope you'll never forget. It is a privilege to introduce to you a truly remarkable individual who embodies the fusion of creativity, advocacy, and a profound commitment to positive change in the world of health and well-being. I would like everyone to meet Lidia Hall, the visionary founder and CEO of Resolute Ready. Her journey is a tapestry woven with threads of education, performing arts, and a relentless drive to empower individuals and create transformative shifts in the realms she touches. Her experience as an educator and project manager within the performing arts community has equipped her with a unique set of skills, allowing her to navigate complex projects with grace and precision. However, Lydia's journey transcends the stage and the boardroom. In 2010, she received a heartfelt invitation from the late Jean Zwodeski, former Minister of Indigenous Affairs, to participate in an international symposium on Aboriginal economic development strategies in Banff, Canada. This pivotal moment ignited Lydia's passion for positive change and opened doors to diverse cultural organizations. Throughout her career, Lydia has championed change, particularly in the field of education, where her passion for social inclusion has left a lasting imprint on humanity. But it doesn't stop there. Lydia's personal life experience have led her to advocate tirelessly for veterans and their families, notably through her involvement in the Royal Commission into Veterans Suicide. What sets Lydia apart is her indomitable spirit and her ability to harness her creative energy and wisdom as a force of empowerment. She not only builds teams and navigates challenging situations with grace, but also inspires individuals to explore new ideas and achieve beyond their expectations. Her acting career has honed her gift of creative communication, making her a motivational and inspirational figure. Ladies and gentlemen, Lidia Hall. She is more than an advocate. She's a catalyst for positive change in the realms of health and well-being. Her unwavering commitment, vivacious energy, and deep-rooted empathy make her a force to be reckoned with. And I think after hearing our conversation today, everyone will want to be spending some more time with you. Thank you for being here today with me.
Oh, thank you so much. This is such an honor. For those listeners, I've tuned in all the way from Australia, and I think it's really important how I got here.
Yeah.
So one morning at 4:30 in the morning, I just woke up, picked up my mobile phone, and there he was, George, interviewing L in biomaterials and regenerative medicine, and I thought I was really captivated by this podcast, and quite amazed with the future technologies and the out of the box thinking. And as George knows, as soon as I heard collaboration and innovation in the same sentence, something drew me to email George and say, I felt really compelled. But even though we kind of, this is our first little meeting, it's like I feel like I've known you for ages. So from that, I was invited, and I really do feel honored because um, when you hear phrases like change your language and change your life, of course I had to do some research on this fella. That really resonated with me, because through life we do get different handballs, and it's all the way we respond to the crisis, the chaos, the interruptions. But how can we be true to ourselves along this journey? And then suddenly I hear this wonderful saying that that this is a platform where you can actually present your own truth, and it's safe and it's okay. And it's pretty much, when I used to teach, that's what I used to say to my students: this space is safe, right? You cannot make a mistake in this space. The more mistakes you make, the more forward you're going to get. But you just got to start somewhere. And um and so that's the journey that I'm on, and I continue to, and I think that that phrase, when you say, oh, I wish I knew back then what I know now.
Right. Right.
Oh, gee, that could have helped, a few decisions along the way. But I just say, when it comes to innovation, you don't beat yourself up. You just, if it sits right with you, and I love what I think it's Roosevelt, what he says, believe you can and you're halfway there. I think that's one of his sayings. So anyway, probably October last year, and also the catalyst, I must say, for Resolute
Right.
Ready is very much part of my personal journey. I met a man that served in East Timor, and when he returned as a veteran, he suffered chronic PTSD and really struggled with and self-medicated on alcohol. Now, initially during this phase, you meet your person, the love of your life, and then you think,
Right.
yeah, it's going to be all hunky dory, and then things happen, and in that split moment of once I was lecturing at a university, and literally overnight I was on suicide watch, and so suicide ideation amongst our military and first responder and connected families is quite high. So then I looked into this a bit further and I realized, this is actually a global crisis. How can humanity come together, bring all our resources together to help one another, where it's not dependent on funding, money? So the birth of Resolute Ready is that's where it's come from. So at that point, I in October last year, I connected with a website developer and said that I really want to create a platform to link communities, global communities across the world, to support services, so that no matter where they traveled around the world, they would always feel connected, no matter what happened. So, according to we're just coming through the pandemic, natural disasters and war conflict, and it's predicted. I'll have to quote me on the report, but there's actually it's quoted that by I think 2028 we'll be spending something like, I don't know, $344 billion on mental health. Now, let's say that I can contribute to 10% of that quota, where we don't have to use that funding. Funding can be used elsewhere and be more productive. So I'm not interested in reinventing the wheel. I'm about collaboration. I'm not about competition. Resolute Ready, that's, we're a community that's come together. We've identified that there is an issue or a few issues, and we're a response to the actual Royal Veteran Commission into defence and veteran suicide. So you can say that's kind of the instigator there as well. So on reflection, Resolute Ready, we reflected and we realised that in Australia that there are over 6,000 existing service organisations, but no one actually knows where they are, right? So as a partner, I really want to support my husband and my family, but where do I go for help? And luckily enough, I persisted, and until I worked out who I needed, what networks we needed to surround the family with. And then I thought, you know what? I think we need a virtual hub. So an online directory, a library. So I thought, maybe I'll just start off with Little Adelaide. No. Maybe the whole of Australia. No. Then it becomes global. So we launched the Resolute Ready organisation and the hub on the 20th of April this year. Within the first month of it being up and running, we got over 7,000 hits, and we were able to identify, because as you know, data is extremely important in today's world of understanding, because it informs direction as well. We had, the widest community at the moment was Australia, but then the United States was behind, the UK, Canada, we had Germany, Ireland, I think Japan, India, France and Sweden have just suddenly tapped into. So this is telling me that we've identified a disconnection or a gap, and that is linking services not just at a local national level but at a global level. So I was thinking, well, with all these wonderful online resources, why not go to the virtual hub and you treat it like as if your traditional library where you've got lots of different categories, and work out what it is that you need according to where you are at the moment. So my question is, what does one need to live a well-lived life? And what happens when certain components don't exist? And how does the family fall apart and relationships end up being broken? What is it that we can do to restore that? So our mission, Resolute Ready, the first thing is to stop the intergenerational impact of service trauma. We know children get impacted. Yeah. The next thing is the whole thing about restoring relationship. If we got early intervention and we got services and programs and support to these families at a global level a lot earlier, I truly believe it will reduce the impact of the trauma. I know in my family, I tell you what, I reckon if we could put Lydia's tears, we'd call it not the Nile River, it would be Lydia's river, and it'd go for a very long time, because you know what it's like when you get to that point where you're experiencing despair and you don't know where to go, and you feel like you're hitting your head against the wall, and nothing is making sense except you've been told you're the crazy one. It's just so that determination to problem solve and to once again navigate the web of crisis, what preventions can we put in place before the crisis happens? What supports are there at crisis, and what supports are there in recovery? So
so there's a lot that Resolute Ready is doing. Let me back it up a little bit and start with, like, let's say that I am here in Hawaii and I'm having some issues dealing with some trauma in my life.
Okay.
I reach out to Resolute Ready. Like, what do I see when I go onto the screen? Is there like a menu that talks about, if I want to talk to a counselor, can I contact you? Or like, is there a directory of services? What do I see as some individual who may be in a form of crisis? Like, what do I see when I look at that screen?
Well, as you can see, this is a project in progress. We've just launched in April. So there are a couple of really important functions. The first one is that it is going to be, the legacy is a really comprehensive directory of support services. The second function is that if you work in this space and you offer support programs and other services, or an organization that can contribute to enhancing the quality of life of humanity, you can go and actually submit your service. I don't have the funds. I'm thinking about sustainability. That's why I've had to be a little bit innovative. I cannot afford 300 virtual assistants. But what I can do is create a pro forma that will go in, to the globe worldwide, and anyone can submit their service. Then obviously it comes to our team where it'll get vetted, because we're very protective of this community. And also there's the opportunity to give feedback. And this is really important when, if we're going to government, because we know government's quite conservative as far as funding and who they give their funds to. But if I've got data that can inform and say, go to your Hawaii government dignitaries and say, look, in a few years' time, I can actually let you know which services are actually being used and utilized and where the gaps are. So let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's not waste any more funding where it shouldn't be, wasted. We've got so many, intellectual, creative, innovative minds in this world. And this is a platform, if we can come together and just share the knowledge, and now with technology, we can access it a lot quicker. I think that it's really important that you also are aware that we do have a crisis helpline. We're Resolute Ready. We're not medical professionals. It's more, I love it because the couple of Marine Corps from the US, they say, oh, it's like a switchboard. It just leads you to the right department, right? So ideally down the track, I would love all government bodies and agencies, whether it's, any organisation that works in the veteran affairs space or first responder space, or whether you're a medical health provider, to come on board. But the beauty that as I'm developing this, I'm thinking, oh, there's a space for research. So then I've got like the University of New South Wales, Dr. Dr. Margaret Rogers, and she's done a fair bit of work in the education space. And then I've got, here in South Australia, we've got Mesha that really focuses on veterans and first responders and families. And then we've got all the wonderful work that's coming out of Canada. And then suddenly, in tapping into the global network, I have a wonderful meeting with a lovely gentleman by the name of Dr. Daniel Perkins from the University of Pennsylvania, who produced this paper identifying what one needs to transition into a civilian life per se, so that you can lead and live a quality life. So without me knowing, I'd unpacked those headings of mental, physical health, employment, social engagement, all those wonderful headings, and made those explicit. So I would love this platform one day, no matter where you are in the world, tap into Hawaii, and let's say we've got service providers that have come on board and going, I'm homeless. And then suddenly a whole range of services appears. The research can be done through postcode, through your state, or you select the country that you're in. So it's got a really good filtering system. And what I love about the virtual hub is the fact that part of my scope was, please make it easy to follow. Please make it easy to read. Please make it easy to navigate. When you're stressed, the last thing you need is a multiple layered highway with lots of roads leading everywhere but nowhere, if you know what I mean. Because when you need that, when you're experiencing, I think, mental stress of any type, the last thing you need is more chaos, more confusion. So I must say, Bench Studios is the website developer, and they just, Michael there just tapped into the heartbeat of what it was that I was trying to convey and implement. Now, I will, if everyone's probably going, how's she funding this and where's she, because they're always the questions. To be honest, because of the level of urgency, I believe, and how this needs to move forward, is the fact that I couldn't wait. So my husband and I got a little bit of inheritance, and he said, oh, you can paint the top layer of the house and da-da-da. And I'll be honest, saving lives is much more. If anything happens to me tomorrow, this is the legacy I want to leave, is the fact that there is this amazing platform that can really provide easy access anytime, anywhere. It's not a place, it's not where you can ring and make crisis, calls, but what it will tell you in certain countries, what number to dial. The most other thing that, and also specific service providers with the need that that you're requiring at that particular time in your life. But the other most amazing thing, then I got really excited, was I was thinking, this platform, if you go to the resoluteready.com crisis tab and you scroll down and you go to Ukraine. Now, you might, Lydia, why have you got Ukraine and Turkey? Now, these are war, disaster, conflict zones. And when I went into the Ukraine, I clicked on emergency. And if you're having a look at my website and you click on emergency under Ukraine, there's actually a procedure for protection, a map. So I thought, wow, Resolute Ready could also be almost like a national security platform of first responders sending me a link going, right, this has just happened in Hawaii. We've just had some floods, or we've just had some really bad weather. This is the map for those communities where to go. And I can just quickly, with a click of a button, put it up there straight away. So what this is doing, Resolute Ready, it's actually centralizing the information to one place, to one spot. And this excites me, the fact that I know that it's working because of the engagement that we're receiving. The email that I received from an ADF member from Australia living in England wrote me an email saying, Lydia, I really need someone to talk to. I'm an ADF Australian, Defence Force member, but I'm living in the UK and I just need someone to speak to. No problem. Go out to my community, global network, found him a service provider within the UK. And then what is it? Lydia, thank you. Resolute Ready, thank you for the connection. Now I have someone to talk to. It's really simple. And the feedback that I get is, why has anyone else thought about this? It's such a simple, really, it's not a complicated concept or idea. But I feel very humbled that we can use this platform to bring down borders digitally and
Yeah.
and connect, I think, connection is prevention.
Yeah, I think so too. I guess I'm curious. There's so much going on there. Sometimes it sounds like, on some level, it sounds like such a gigantic project, and there's all these things happening. Is there a certain avenue that you focus on mostly? Because it sounds like there's so much there. Like you can have so many
Yeah,
possibilities helping so many people.
absolutely.
Is there
Well,
like
this
one or two things that that you're really focusing on, or is it just all of them trying to?
absolutely. No, at the moment, one is really important is awareness. If people know
Yeah,
where to go for help, yeah.
right,
The second thing is letting I suppose, those that work in the health profession, the health service providers, know about Resolute Ready and come on board so that, um, we can find and access you a lot more easily. Um, the
What
other
does that
thing,
process? What does that process look like? If I'm a professional and I want to come on board, like
all right, go to
what does that look
Resolute
like?
Ready. Okay, go to resoluteready.com. I want you to click on the virtual hub. Then you'll probably get just some basic questions. We do not
Mm-hmm.
collect any personal information. And the other thing is we do not charge, all right? There's not a membership fee. I do not believe that we should be charging individuals and families that suffer mental health issues to save themselves and live a quality live life.
Right.
Morally, it just does not resonate with me at all. So the first thing you do is I'd go on there and I'd go, you can say I am a community member, right? And it'll pick up from which country you're from, roughly your age, and I think whether you've got a children in particular. That's only relates to military and veteran communities, just to know who's tapping in. It's just data. Like, we
Right.
can't track you. It's really safe. Okay. So you go in there and once you're in there, you've got two options. One you can go straight to the virtual hub, or you'll see this other tab and it says submit your service. That will pop up in a pop-up box and it'll ask you information like the name of your organization, um, a blurb about what service you provide, some details, so that once it's all approved, it comes to one of the Resolute Ready team and we approve it. And once it goes up, it appears like a little pop-up box, and underneath we can identify whether it's advocacy, housing, legal, what services you actually provide straight away, which makes it easier for the user to know what you're about. Now, if I'm really interested in this, I'll just click on that box again and it'll appear in a bigger pop-up box and you'll have access to the website of that organization. I do not have to be involved. You go directly there. You've got phone numbers you can call within your own country because you've given me all that information so that it can go up on the Resolute Ready website. And also then the wonderful thing is that you will receive a code. When you receive that code, you are in total control of the content that you're actually producing on this free marketing promotional space. And you can go in any time. Let's say in a couple of months' time, you've come up with a new program and you feel that you want to, you would like to promote it to the globe, or, and then you can use the virtual hub to promote within your networks and conferences. And so gradually, already from April to now, we've already increased in networks. So it's really just about saying to the globe, worldwide, come on this adventure, be part of the healing journey. Let's see if together we can reduce the impact of global suicide through connection, right? I know in the US, you guys have got some wonderful programs online that don't cost anything. It's really valuable information. Why not share it with other countries around the world so that we can collaborate, share the knowledge, be resourceful with our funding? To me, this excites me. And I just really hope that everyone can become as passionate as I am and say that, you know, we need to value people. We need to value children. We need to value lives. This is about valuing one's life. And I will fight for someone who needs to be saved in any way. By I can't, exactly what you said. I can't do everything. So the focus is the awareness,
Mm-hmm.
bringing countries around the world to make them aware of the Resolute Ready Virtual Hub, making sure they know how to come on board and to seek, in a collective, collaborative way, what an amazing difference we can make. And it's not
Yeah.
going to cost anyone anything.
Yeah, it's so amazing to think that just a few clicks of a button could potentially help save someone's life. And
Yeah.
I bet you, I'm willing to bet most people listening to this have at least known somebody who has had a family member who tried to commit suicide or did commit suicide, or some of us have had friends in the military, or you read about it in the paper all the time. And if when someone takes their own life, they may be gone, but they leave a trail of tears behind. They
Oh,
leave this legacy of so much pain behind, and it can be overwhelming. It's a beautiful thing to think that there's people out there going out of their way to set something up to stop that from happening. I mean, is there you've shared a little bit about your personal life and having that sort of experience. Are there some other experiences you have learned about since setting up this particular organization?
um, yeah. Look, one, as an innovator, I've got this line of, I know what my core business is.
Mm-hmm.
Not that this is a business per se, but it's like our core business is to save lives. So when I enter a meeting or I enter a discussion, if I can see that we're aligned, absolutely, let's collaborate. But if I can see that the heartbeat isn't we're not aligned, then it's okay as an innovator to go, I thank you so much, but I just think that we just are too different in some ways, in some areas. But at the same time, I hope we can collaborate to, you know, um, to promote the goodness of humanity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so from that, and I suppose when you are innovating, you're actually entering a realm or an arena of the unknown, right? So quite a few times I'd be going, I think I'll just have to go with the flow with this one, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know. I've got this wonderful idea, but how it'll be received, I'm not sure. Like, I never, honestly, envisaged me having a discussion with you today. This
Right.
was just a little idea in October in 2020, 2022, and here we are. So I think you've just got to keep moving forward, one foot in front, and you just don't give up. And we say at Resolute Ready that saying no is not an option, saying yes to life is. And and if you get stuck, you problem solve until you knock on enough doors until you get the answer that you're looking for. Even if you're in a position where it is so chaotic, and you can't see through the darkness or the despair, trust me, the storm will pass. It'll pass. You know. So that on that level, but when you're dealing with suicide ideation within your family, that's that's uh, you know that's the moment that life breathes in you. You do not give up for your loved ones no matter what, and it's that perseverance and determination, like I was saying before, just to keep knocking on those doors till you get the answer that you're looking for. Now just remember that, through my experience in doing this work, is that we all respond to trauma in a different way. Not all programs, it's not, one particular program or therapy suits everybody. So I've done therapeutic, I've had to, engage with a psychologist and get a better understanding about PTSD, service trauma, understand. I don't understand. We went into the restaurant and he sits with his back towards the wall. Why does he do that? Right? Why does he react to loud sounds? Right? Why does he feel like he needs to know the entrances and exits of wherever we go? Right? You know, what's the cause of the nightmares? What's happening there? And how does certain medications impact the part of the mind that's meant to be rational if you're not operating from that part of your mind, yeah, or that part of your brain, and how does the brain operate, and what's happening to what's that little thing called, the amygdala?
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah.
what is it in the, is everything, are all the neurotransmitters in the right spot? Is it all doing the right thing? And then you've got this other whole, oh, another bag of worms that you've got to unfold, and that's called communication. Like, how we know that the way we communicate with each other, everyone can hear it, but their interpretation of it can be totally different. So then I've had to, really emphasize paraphrasing back, so to avoid arguments, or identify triggers so that we wouldn't argue. It's all the groundwork that takes time, and you need compassion, you need understanding, even when you're going through the chaos. I don't know if that's making sense to your listeners, but
Yeah.
I think the key thing is just not to give up.
Yeah, I think so too. It's interesting to hear the way in which, I can hear like the passion in your voice, and you can tell that anybody who's been in situations where you may have been around people that are suicidal, you feel this profound loss, and you
Oh,
you as the person are almost, part of you dies a little bit. And
oh,
when you were talking about trying to understand the reasons why people do the things they do, on some level I can see you desperately and lovingly and caringly trying to help this person find out and make sense of this life in front of them. Like, maybe that maybe the foundation of why you started this, and is that the message that goes forward to other people that,
no,
that try to
for
join?
me, for me personally,
Yeah.
it's when you've got a child and a child gets impacted. I'm sorry, listeners,
Mm,
if I get a bit emotional. Um, it it really touches your soul, like on a deep level, when you love someone so deeply, in your family, and they come to terms that their life is not worth living.
mm,
You have no other option but to not accept that, way of thinking. you know Change your language. What do you
yeah.
say, George?
Change your life. Change your
Change
language,
your
change your
life.
life.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's all about the mindset, where that person is. But when they find themselves in that moment, that's their reality. That's their perspective of how they view themselves in the world that they're living in. So we're very much about early intervention
Yeah.
because it's the suffering. I want to minimize the suffering and the pain that comes with that. So that's what drives me, right? I, you know, to wake up and to hear people that you love say they don't want to live anymore, that's a really hard tablet to swallow.
Yeah.
And um and at that moment, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor. It
No.
doesn't matter what your background is. But your focus is, how can I help this human being feel part of the world again? No one deserves to feel worthless. No one. It's um and that's what drives me. It's it's my lived experience.
Mm.
So that's the other thing when someone comes to me and says, I can't get over your website. It's really easy to navigate. You can tell it's designed by someone that's lived it. That's a lot of the feedback that I get. You can tell that it's someone that's got, or a group of people as well. I've got to incorporate the Resolute team. They're phenomenal. They're amazing. And they're all volunteers, but they have lived experience on one level to the other. They bring a professional skill set. I'll never turn anyone away that wants to be, a Resolute Ready community engagement liaison for their country, for their state. As long as you align with the heartbeat of Resolute Ready, and you want to put your hand up just to improve life within your state, your country, this can only grow. And if you go to the section about us, you'll see the tab on the resoluteready.com. You'll see our little story. But if you scroll down and you click on Australia, you'll see all the Resolute Ready community engagement liaisons that have come on board. And if you go to the US and if you go to the UK, so we've got the structure there. Now it just needs to grow organically.
Yeah, it seems I do. It seems that when real people get involved to help other people, that's when the healing begins. I know that it's very difficult to do things without funding, and there's so many great communities out there that go out of their way to collect and do stuff for people. But there's a real difference when it's organic and people help people. It seems like that there's much more, almost more love involved when it's that way, when it's just people volunteering or getting together and doing the right thing instead of doing things right. People
Yeah.
tend to learn and live and feel more.
That feeling when, you feel like, oh, I just want to catch up with someone today. And so you organize your coffee date or the walk with the dogs with a mate, or
Yeah.
just so for that connection. And then you realize that that's what it's all about. It's about connection. Like that little, pick up the phone, make the phone call. Don't be, and sometimes, have you ever been in a position where you actually don't feel it? Like you just want to stay in bed and you just want to
Yeah.
put the sheets over your head and hide from the world, but change your language, change your life. My mind, I'll go, Lydia, I know you're not feeling the love right now. I know you're exhausted. I know you've got things to do, but you've got to show up. And I think I learned that from one of the members of our Resolute team, Beverly. She'd always say, really important to show up. That's the first step. So make that phone call, ring a friend, get the courage. Even
Yeah.
if your mind is opposing it, fight that with all your might. Fight the thoughts. And if you can't, do something active. Pick up the phone. Do something. Say, right, I just need to get out of bed. Right, okay, I just need to get into the shower. First step. That could even be your first early intervention. It all starts from the mindset as well. But then, we can't undervalue the amazing work that medical professionals do as well.
Yeah.
You know, some of us, might have to be medicated for a short period of time so that we can, do the work with a psychologist. But you've got to have a mind that's going to be open to that, you know. So you've got to tap into your medical professionals, let your general practitioner know in your state that you're struggling, make that phone call, or get someone and say, you know what, I can't do this. Can you support me through this, the admin, That's the other thing with my husband. There was so much admin work that needed to be done through, the government bodies involved. I think I once went in with 3 folders, and it wasn't so that I um, wanted them read. It was really just to illustrate this is what a partner or a carer or a neighbour has to do to support this individual, you know. And so on that level, then the other thing that's really resonates is the education aspect, right? And it's also what is the best emergency response to a crisis? What does that look like? And so I've been doing a bit of research to try and find different models that I can present to government dignitaries and say, can we explore this, and different countries have got their processes in place. We can learn from one another. But at the moment, for me, a really good response to an emergency crisis, and I'm talking about like within the family, so yeah, the first thing you do is that you'll contact with here in Australia we've got 000. In Hawaii, what's it in Hawaii? Is it
911.
911? Yeah.
Yeah.
So but sometimes there's that issue where when you are looking after someone who suffers PTSD and you call the police, we've got to make sure that there's an understanding what service trauma is, and that our veterans they're not criminals. They're actually mentally not well. So you would have to handle that a little bit differently, because that could escalate it to a different level. This is just some thinking that I've been thinking about. And the other thing is, when we do make that call to the emergency line, and then what I'd like to see is that, of course, it goes to perhaps a caller that is trained in service trauma, and then that personal individual or family is, medically triaged. Obviously, go to the hospital if necessary, get the right support and medical assistance, but it doesn't stop there. I would then like them to go to the virtual hub, search a service provider within their state and town, whatever it is, connect them with a case manager. With that case manager, can work with the individual, the family, to develop a well-being or safety plan. But the most crucial point in helping any individual family, this is only based on my lived experience, okay, is the follow-up. The follow-up is always missing in a lot of cases that I've, had discussions with this community. And that was missing with my experience. That didn't actually happen. I had to instigate once, someone was in hospital, to get that individual transferred to a veteran hospital that assists with that's got the history of that individual. We need to try and avoid putting individuals being re-traumatized, because every time they speak to someone, they've got to start from the beginning and tell their story.
Right.
Like, that's really horrific. So let's, I'd love that to be explored further. What, this just comes to my mind. It's something you said in one of your podcasts. See, you're in my head. And that is about policies that dehumanize?
Mm.
How do we approach policies that perhaps once were working fabulously, but now just need to be addressed because they're not timely? they're not in real time, if that makes sense, right? And I think lived experience can influence policy changes as well. Well, I'm hoping
Yeah.
that could be and I think, like, I know at the moment um, in Australia that we've got a new secretary at the moment, um, and she's working very hard to bring in positive change within the Department of Veteran Affairs by collaborating with other organisations and service providers, really trying to encourage outside the box thinking, um, which is exciting. I know change is coming. I can't determine the pace or how quickly, but if we can all, throw our hat into that arena and have a voice and share your thoughts and your concerns so that at least government dignitaries are aware of what's happening in your community or within your state or country, it's only then that something can be done, you know. And sometimes, as a civilian myself, there's times when I've had that thought where I go, oh, they already know that. And then I do some research and I go, I don't think they do. I think they're aware, but so when I presented to the Royal Commission, I'm very solution based. So I presented like 4 national priorities and that needed addressing, everything from, systemic reform, looking at suicide intervention and prevention, because that's what the topic is at the
Right.
moment.
Okay.
Looking at how education and the health sectors contribute to the impact of suicide, and what else can we do around that. Then I read the terms of references, and I actually wrote the issues that I felt were concerning to me. Now, this is, remember, from my lived experience as part of my family. But the important part is that I've always been solution based. I really want to encourage for positive change. Try and take a solution to whatever problem you see happening in your community. I find that government dignitaries are much more open to wanting to hear, because they really want to collaborate and work with you. And sometimes the ideas are things that are missing. And as a lived experience member of my family, I was just able to highlight and bring a different perspective on things. Whether my ideas are taken up or not, I cannot control that. But I surely can contribute to making positive change by having a voice. I feel quite honoured too. Here in Australia, we've got the Open Arms, which is a 24 hours counselling service for our veterans and their families. Now, I'm in that national body and I'm in that committee, and already I can see that they're trying really hard to make positive change. The other factor that's really fascinating is sometimes at government level, we know they're making the changes, but it's how it's communicated to those on the ground. Sometimes it's happening, but we just want to be informed. If we know that change is coming, no matter how quick or how slow, it's not the pace, right? But let's get it right. Let's just get it right. Let's collaborate. Let's have a safe forum where, we can all contribute. So that leads to a global initiative that's coming up on the 20th and 22nd, if I can just share that with your listeners.
Please.
So it's a bit of a walkathon. So a couple of weeks ago, now I suffer with Hashimoto, which is a thyroid I've got these things happening where, my bad cells or my good cells are thinking that they're bad cells. Anyway, the body's having a good fight with each other, and it's all
Right.
good. It's all okay. But, you feel extreme fatigue. Anyway, so I was determined to, in Australia, we've got what we call the park run, and I believe it's global around the world. So I thought I need to start getting into my fitness and health and so so here I am. I've done this and I've put this photo on my Facebook page, and the pain was just the pain of that walk that I did that took me an hour. And I've got to say, congratulations to that lovely lady that was older than me that had an oxygen tank. She passed me, George. Passed me. And so I'm yelling from a distance, "You're an inspiration." And so the the following week, I give it another go. And I know in the US, you've got a wonderful service provider organization called 2022 Too Many.
Mm.
And so our Resolute Ready community engagement liaison is in Chicago. And she just completed a run that morning for her military and first responders and dedicated for those that had passed death by suicide. And so I said, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to participate in a walk, and I'm going to hold everyone in my heart as I do this walk. And she said, so Connie from Chicago gets on the phone, and I'm ringing her, and she literally stayed. It was a virtual walk, and she was my mentor from Chicago at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning here in Adelaide, South Australia. And she's taking snapshots and going, oh, that's interesting, Australian habitat. What's that? I said, you're slowing me down. But then I thought, why don't we do a global walkathon? So coming very soon, I will share with you a quick Facebook advertisement where people can walk between, on the time of the 20th to the 22nd of this month, because here in Australia, October is Mental Health Month.
Mm-hmm.
And we can liaise, and like maybe, you guys, wherever you are around the world, you can walk, you can, I don't know, go for a trek. I don't know if it's too cold over there, or, I think of it just some activity that'll bring you a bit of joy and friendship and family bonding, because that's what it's about, and another form of connection. So I'll keep you informed about that. Also, we've just released our merchandise because we've created merchandise, guys. Yep, just to help us. So if you want to grab a T-shirt and look, if you can't do it on the 20th to the 22nd of October, there's lots of different Saturdays that are coming on, or different times in the week. If you happen to get a Resolute Ready T-shirt, throw it on. Say you're from Hawaii, and you're walking for, or you just want to be part of improving quality of life in the global context, whatever you want to say, or whatever it feels in your heart while you're walking or while you're being proactive. And so it's about bringing people together too. I think it's really, really important. Also, I'm very excited from the education component. Early this year, our South Australian Minister for Education, Training and Skills, Blair Boyer, I had a meeting with him, and we spoke about a box on a school enrolment form. Now, we've got, as the teacher in me, I've created this library of resources, and I thought, but we've got to connect it to education, yeah? So our concern are children. So how can we support them in schools that experience, say, service trauma or mental health if we don't know who they are? So starting next year in South Australia, in all school enrolment for all schools, there should be a box or an identifier to identify children from ADF, Australian Defence Force families here in South Australia. I want to promote this to go not just national. I'd love to see this to go global. How can we help families if we don't know where they are, where they're located, where the children are? And it's not about bringing negative, attention to these families. It's about educating the teachers and the school counselors and those involved in providing a quality education. And we know that mental health impacts learning. And through my lived experience and dealings with schools and chairing meetings and creating modified programs so that my child could go through the system and not feel alienated. But you've got to understand, when children feel service trauma or they're engaged in, I feel like, a lot of these young serving families that are traveling and they move around the globe, right? There's got to be an impact on their education, especially the children, having to leave one school and go to another, the disconnection of friendships and then having to start over again, so my heart is for those children that and those families as well. So that's another initiative. And if you go to my website under initiatives, you'll see the first thing that I put up there is the hub tick. That's done. The second thing, we've started conversations about, early intervention as far as a crisis response, emergency crisis response, and what that might look like. So there's, discussions we're undergoing with government dignitaries at the moment, at least to keep the discussion open and on the table. And then obviously all the, education initiatives, like we're trying to raise $13. So $13, I wish, $13,000 here, Australian dollars, just to engage a researcher in this space. Because once again, Resolute Ready doesn't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to have a look out in the globe, if Canada, the US, wherever we are, see what already exists in the education sphere, and then formulate and bring these resources together on our virtual hub so that a researcher from the US can contact the researcher in Australia and say, wow, we're kind of doing similar work. This is really inspiring. Can we have a discussion about how we can partner and move forward? So I just see like lots of layers of how collaboration can work on this platform. Even I've had businesses come to me and say, we're willing to employ a veteran. Here's a job description. Wonderful. There is space for that as well on the virtual hub, so that if you're a business and you are willing to employ veterans and first responders, because once you come out of the forces, to be able to, can you just imagine you spend days on and, in and out with your mates side by side. They're protecting you. You're going into war zones that are threatening. Constantly, you're worried about your life, but you can't focus on that because you're taught to emotionally detach, get in, do the mission, and get out. And then suddenly you leave that life, and you've got to become a civilian. You lose your protectors. No one's got your back. I mean, what a scary concept, right? What do you do with your life? You question your own purpose, your own existence and being, and how are you meant to assimilate back into civilization when all you know is what you know? And so hence the virtual hub, I want that to be a connection to community. There's so many wonderful veteran hubs and service providers on the ground, right? If we can identify where they are earlier, can you imagine, before you leave the military or first responder or a workplace, and saying, I've got issues around this, and then being able to search and then find them? Surely that would reduce some impact of mental health and trauma.
Yeah, I think that the more opportunities there are and the more people willing to help, the better the world will be. And I think
Totally.
Resolute Ready is a great place for people to go and search out, and it's free, and it's clear to me the open heart with which you're performing all of these amazing services it's a beautiful thing. And I think that if more people would be willing to sacrifice their time and their love to help out their loved ones, and we'd all live in a much better world. So, Lydia,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
so thankful for all of your time today, and it's an awesome conversation. coming up on this hour right here. I want to, before I let you go, where can people find you? What do you have coming up and what are you excited about?
All right, I'm really excited. You go to resoluteready.com. You've got access to the virtual hub. Please put your service, submit it if you've got one and you think you can contribute to this message of collaboration and saving lives, really. The next thing is I would love to see this global walk. Like, I'd love to hear the stories on the ground. Can you imagine? I'm from Hawaii. I'm from Italy. Like, my firefighter from Italy, I speak Italian, so I contact him because, Lydia, we need help here too,
Yeah.
But imagine just being able to bring people together with a common cause of reducing global suicide. I think that's amazing. Just raising awareness, asking the right questions, but connection is the key, and then leading them to the support is the next step. So it's so I'm really excited. I can't wait. There's a couple of conferences too that I'm presenting at, and I think just I feel humbled if anyone wants to listen to me.
Yeah. Beautiful
um,
message.
yeah, and so look, I cannot thank you and your listeners for tapping in, and if you're still here, thank you.
Yeah. It's amazing.
um,
I'm stoked to talk to you. I'm hopeful that people listening to this will now have another resource where they can not only reach out to but participate in. I think that's
that's
a giant
it.
step.
Yeah, so resoluteready.com, one stop, one call, one life. That's it in a nutshell. And it's really it's really been an honor. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. I'm really thankful, and like I said, I think we have a lot in common, and that's why we bond on so many levels. So,
I
well,
know.
hang on briefly. I'll talk to you briefly afterwards, but I'm gonna hang up with all our friends right here.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Go to the show notes, check out Resolute Ready. If there's someone in your family who may need medical attention, you should be doing everything you can to seek out and find a professional that can help them. And for those of us that are out there struggling, just keep your head up and try to change your language, change your life. There's plenty of beautiful resources out there and people that care. And sometimes all you need is a smile. So think about that. Ladies and gentlemen, be kind. I hope you have a beautiful day. And that's all we got. Aloha. All right.